maybe women don't want to be photographed in lingerie after 40, childbirth, and you're getting older, and all the stuff.
All that.
And when I put out the first ad, I was overflowing with women and that just shows me that we want to be seen at this age, because we are after a certain age, we feel like we're unseen. There's all youth and beauty and this and that, and I think women over 40 feel forgotten. And so for me, this is a very important project, particularly since I'm turning 60 this year. I'm right here with them, and that we're still beautiful. This lady's 90.
Welcome to Attitude of Altitude podcast, presented by Planet of One. We're sharing stories and conversations, encouraging and empowering listeners to be bold, take action, and be your best self, so we may be the change we desire to see in this world. Know that your attitude determines your altitude in life. Welcome to the podcast. Talk about today. What did you guys work on today as two magnificent women that have gone so far with what you're doing? What were you guys working on today?
So today was a very important day. It's a very special day because I started recording for my series, my app, my work with domestic violence, was recording stories of survivors who have stood through the thick of the worst of it and years and thriving now on the other side. So for the dbapp.io, it really was tied to me now starting to get stories of women, and Anne's got an extraordinary story. So we recorded all afternoon after we got through some tech support, but it was really around what her journey was. How did it start to how truly what she's doing now, and the impact and the decades of this warrior's journey, this Shiro, she's this Shiro, and capturing, when you really get into the story of a journey of someone, I guess it was probably always there. You needed to go through this journey to be who you are as this top photographer now. But we got such precious time in to record. And now for me, it was really the start of getting my content and my app ready. And so it was fun. And then Anne took some shots of me and some headshots, and just so grateful that I got seen by her, seen by this badass, and just celebrating our commitment to empowering women in the world, that life can really leave you so stuck, and there's a way out of stuck. And what Anne said, sometimes it's a little piece that you just have to move forward on, and you can get through. And sometimes you can be so stuck with seemingly no options, and then something happens and something does break through. And what did I say? It's never too late to have a good life.
I love that, actually, Beth. It's never too late to have a great life. And you, just knowing a little bit about your journey and us being friends, but for the people that are listening, you're a well-known photographer throughout the world. How would you say to someone who's struggling right now, what would you say to them about a journey and how you got to where you are? Because they see a world-renowned photographer that works with all kinds of celebrities, but share that journey, especially for the younger women that maybe struggle and think there's no way out.
How much time do you have? That's kidding. No, there's no magic wand. There's no recipe. Each day has a different day, and some days you're going to do better than others. The key is take the choice and make the best out of that day, whatever the best for you look like. Sometimes the best might be just be able to get out of bed and brush your teeth. Some days you jump out and you're out there, networking and doing the best you can for whatever. But I think just always choose, because you do have a choice. And once you realize you choose of what you do, what you say, and how you present yourself, and you just do the best you can for that day. And sometimes it might be days where you don't want to do your best, and just get through those days and know that, hey, this is not going to last. We just need to take one baby step, whatever that baby step looks like, and just move forward. And sometimes you move, a couple steps back. I mean, right now I've moved a couple steps back in my business, but that's okay, because I know I'm going to get on the other side eventually. It's just life happens, and sometimes it's just something. Okay, what happened here? Oh, it's just you running in. Okay, something popped up on my. Something popped up on my computer. Like, okay, we're running out of this. Running out of this.
Real life happening as we go.
That's like right. Life to be concerned about this space. Yeah. If life should be that hard, right?
Yeah. But anyway, I think Rima, the key is none of us are perfect. We are imperfect, perfect people. And for me, it's just take one foot in front of the other, and believe that you can do it. Just believe. You have to believe that you can get to the next step, and choose to get there. And I think the biggest thing somebody told me once was procrastination is when you are screwing yourself.
You told me that,
and that really hit home to me. Like,
you told me that.
Wow, that is so true. Right. Because I'm in charge of this vessel here, and if I don't do the work, it's not going to get done, and I have nobody to blame except myself.
Right.
Thanks for that authentic answer, honestly, Anne, because so many people will go, "Oh, it's easy. We did this and this and this, and now look." So that authentic answer to let them know that it's a daily journey for all of us. And I heard very recently someone using the phrase, we're attempting to microwave our lives with everything. We're attempting to make it all go exactly how we would like it to by microwaving it, which is true. There's no magic pills, and there's no, okay, we're there. There's no arrival. It's a continuous progress of where we are. Beth, for you, that journey also to where you're now launching an app worldwide and what you're working with, what's that like for you, and as authentic as you can for our audience?
I would say it's coming from being so stuck in being seen and heard, like, and that it's like nothing in life can happen by yourself. You have to get out. And it's been such a struggle. It's been, first of all, facing the shit.
Real life, let's go.
Oh my God. Well, I always, we have a vision of ourselves, a dream that we think we want our life to be like, and then real life happens. And then we're coming from the space, we're coming from this place of attempting to be something like we think is gonna, that's this dream of who we thought we were, but what we really need to do is face the reality. And for me, dealing with domestic violence, having it be in my life for so many decades and having it be real, and finally not wanting to go back to it, but it was not, my life has been stuck. I've been really put on pause. And it hasn't been stuck. It's been an experience of stuck that so many people are, that they don't want people to see our dirty laundry, so to speak. We don't want people to see what really has happened. And there was a woman I met a couple of years ago who approached me crying, and I like, here I've been stuck, pretending to launch one thing. And then I met a woman, and she was crying, and I said, what's going on? She told me that her daughter came home and her dad likes to kiss her down there, and her little girl is 5. And dad likes, so when I got that there was sexual abuse starting with the little girl and this woman, she continued to share that there was domestic violence. And that put me into such a superpower that I took on this woman's case. I inquired further, and she was facing litigation court for the first time. She'd filed a restraining order, and it was pending. So she had her first day in court coming up, and she was a mess. She'd gone to an attorney, actually more than one, and a social worker, and they basically said, you don't have a good chance. This is not a good chance. You're just realizes. And the father, the fathers these days have equality, but there was domestic violence and then the threat with her daughter. So anyway, given that I have spent 48 hearings in family court, and I had been into the appellate courts, and I spent basically 22 years of my life dealing with this issue, I took her on and coached her, and within days, she got everything. She got her restraining order. She stood up for herself. She did her own court, and I was able, because I'm so trained in domestic violence litigation, I trained her. And it was days before court, and she won, and she stood up for herself, and she stood in her power. And it just really gave me that, like, it is powerful to go back to the messes that we've lived through and to find it, to give someone an easier path. So, so this is what is really the work now. I realize there's only one way of life, and that is to really, if you found a trouble, if you found something that has been such a challenge, but you found lessons, you found a way through, it's almost like it's our need, it's our pathway to make it easier for someone else. So I really found my power through her. And this has been about 18 months, I guess. And so I'm continuing to work with her, and I'm wanting to help other women going through domestic violence, to help them to not have to go through decades of a life and to have to wait until after 50 to live it, after 60 to live it, but to live it ahead of time. So it's powerful to look at our problems, our challenges, the biggest ones, and to say, why was this happening to me? Why was this my path? And for me, at the same time, I was raising a child in the midst of this, and he and I moved like 14 times. After he left, there was still a lot of challenges, but I raised a child in the midst of this, and he's thriving and he's doing great. So everything I did for parenting seems to have clicked in with him as a child, and now he's thriving. And I forgave my ex. We actually we're at peace, but I'm in my power. So what is life about? And my work, it really is taking the worst part of my life and turning it into a win. And so launching the DV app, I know what I needed, because it's a lonely road. People don't want to keep hearing your drama. They don't want to keep the same thing. Family and friends get really tired of the same old. So I know that what I'm here to do is to really serve those who are going through a tough time, to give them a community, to give them a pocket of support, something that they can reach for, and they're going to have sisters, they're going to have other people there on the other side, so that's not going to be by themselves anymore. So
I love what you both are doing. It's incredible, honestly, to look at each of you and some of the tough struggles as women that we're never prepared for, domestic violence or any of that stuff. It's not something that is expected. And I think that's the biggest part for me, is as especially intelligent women, that we have maybe our business dialed down, maybe taking care of your kids is dialed down. Yet we go through this process of all of a sudden we give away bits and pieces of ourselves to make things better. And that turns into domestic violence, and now taking that power back and learning from it, for you to launch a worldwide movement for Anne to become a world photographer, honestly. And your last couple of projects of doing the Ageless magazine, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Where you feature a whole slew of wonderful women that have, thank you. Please show that, Anne.
Yes. So going through domestic violence myself and doing research, and also from having more or less a majority of women in my studio. I say 8 out of 10 of my clients are women. I've come to find out that 1 out of 3 has gone through some sort of, that's not okay. 1 out of 3, okay? And that just means maybe there's even 1 out of 2, because maybe, you know, there's some that don't even say what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So it just makes me angry. And a lot of these men, and sometimes women, but in my case, men, I mean, they're so manipulative that they, after a while, you don't even know what happened to you. I mean, you just know that you're from going from a very independent, strong woman, you're like this, feel like a little piece of dirt on the floor that, you know, can't get up. And how did that happen? I mean, when I went through it, I was just asking, how the heck did this happen to me?
Right.
I'm like, this is not my life. This is not who I am. And there's so many strong women that has come out of this and gotten even stronger. Like Beth and I are now like on the mission of empowering women, that saying that this is not okay. And yes, how I forgiven my, that was one thing that I had the hardest thing was forgiveness. But you have to, even though I think a lot of women think I can never do that, and this is what I was one of them, because if I forgive him, that means that it's okay what he did, and that's not the truth. You have to forgive because you have to forgive for yourself, because it's very hard to move on until you do that. Does that mean that what they did was okay? Absolutely not. And but I think forgiveness is a big factor, and then. Yeah, so I mean, it fueled a fire in my soul to empower other women through my lens. And when I realized that I photographed some public figures that had major breakthroughs in my studio, that this is really an important work to. Most people would want to rather go to the dentist and see themselves in front of the camera, because what happens, well, you really have to see yourself. There's no, you know, it takes Photoshop and filters away. What comes out of the other side of the lens is you, right? Without the filters, and be able to show. And Beth and I was talking about this earlier. We all have this negative voice when we look in the mirror, and you know, you look old, you look ugly. All the little itty bitty shitty committee that sits and tells you, you know, all this stuff. And then
Itty bitty shitty committee.
yeah, one of my coaches said that, and I'm like, I'm gonna steal that. That's like the best
That's a good
ever.
one. It's like
Yeah, and sometimes that committee is like really loud,
Oh my
you know, and some days a little less.
Right.
But what I notice is, see you in their lens, it's a whole, they see yourself differently, including myself when I've been photographed. I also have that committee, and when I look in the mirror, and then be able to show women and men also that this is how you look like. Look at this. And of course, yeah, I'm trained. I have 20 years plus under my belt. I know how to light and pose and make the best version of each person without filters. And that's empowering, to be able to give people that gift of self-confidence, and show them the best version of themselves that they can't see themselves. And I was one of those people, and I didn't love or see myself until I did the work on myself. And years and years of self-development and courses and programming over and over and over again about loving yourself first. So yes, I produced this project. It's a 2-year project. Photographed women over 40 in lingerie, and I thought first, maybe women don't want to be photographed in lingerie after 40, childbirth, and you're getting older, and all the stuff.
All that.
And when I put out the first ad, I was overflowing with women and that just shows me that we want to be seen at this age, because we are after a certain age, we feel like we're unseen. There's all youth and beauty and this and that, and I think women over 40 feel forgotten. And so for me, this is a very important project, particularly since I'm turning 60 this year. I'm right here with them, and that we are, we're still beautiful. This lady's 90. She's the ultimate ageless woman at 90. She's 4'7", has a 15-year younger boyfriend, has a TV show, and she's just, keep on. She's like, it's not over until I say it's over. That's her motto. And so that just shows you that whatever life has brought you up to this point, we can choose to change it and make the best of it from now on. But we have to heal the past. Our past, whatever that happened to us, that doesn't have to be our story or our life. I mean, we can like Beth and I are doing. We're taking our stories and turning it into something good. So
it's incredible. It's
others.
Incredible, honestly, for both of you, because you have taken your story and you didn't just become a photographer. You're not simply putting out an app. You are changing lives, and you started with yours. You started from changing within. And I think that's the biggest part about any growth that we need to do and any challenges is it comes back to us. Even for me to even do this podcast, to do any of the things that I touch, I had to go within and work on the things that I struggled with or I had challenge with. And I see you guys the same. If you hadn't done that work of making yourself stronger, you would have been just an ordinary photographer. Not that there's anything wrong with ordinary photographers, but for you to take it to this level, you became a therapist through your lens.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have done that any other way. And you, Beth, through your app, you're becoming kind of a therapist, is the nicest way to say it, for a lot of these women to own their power.
Right.
And really, that's the conversation is, how do we make each individual own their power?
Right.
I think number one is also to show women that they're not alone. Because when you're in that situation, you have so much shame and guilt, and you feel so alone.
Right.
And be able to talk about our stories and bring it out. Number one, it was a big release for me to just like get it out there. Like now it's no secret anymore.
Right.
I don't have to walk around with this baggage and
hiding from what seemed like a negative, but seemed like 1 in 3 women going through it.
Right. I mean, my ex-husband threatened me. He was going to sue me and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I'm like, sue me for what? The truth? Go ahead. I'm ready. Let me know where to show up. I mean, everything is already in our court papers. It's public record. So, go ahead and tell your story. I don't care.
Mine is now serving domestic violence survivors doing their paperwork. So my situation went completely reversal. He's helping others with paperwork.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. Thanks for saying that, Anne, about the shame part, because that's what keeps so many people stuck where they are, because of that shame factor that's going on only in their mind. No one ever looks at any woman that has gone through something, or even men, and go, oh my God, how horrible. You don't do that to people. You actually listen with intent of how do I help? So you touching on that shame is such a big deal. That is what keeps a lot of people stuck. And I don't care what it is that they're challenged with. As soon as we get over that shame, we're moving forward. That's one step of moving forward. But today I'm celebrating you, honestly, not just talking about the negative stuff, but the pieces that took us forward. Beth, you had something to say.
I was going to say that on the hierarchy of emotion, of the shame is the very bottom, is the very, very bottom of human emotion that totally keeps us stuck. But it is the very bottom rung, that if you have shame, well, then you always have up to go. There's no place down to go.
Thanks for saying that, Beth. I share that chart with a lot of the young women that I coach and work with, for them to understand that those energies that they're working with are the things that are keeping them where they are. And as soon as they start to let go and not be afraid of sharing what's occurring, so that it can change, because we do need each other. We do need to open up the eyes of what's happening in the world, and to women and even some men, so that we can actually make the difference. That's how we're going to end up changing things, not by keeping it all a secret. So I would love to thank you both for speaking out, for doing the things that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think in my story, I can see that I think it was destined to be. Those of us who have decades into this, and both Anne and I have invested decades into relationships and the aftermath, which were domestic violence in nature, by getting caught, by getting stuck, by being charmed. And that charm turns into this ultimate bad actor, or this bad experience. And where I'm really seeing that, I think we were born, I don't know if we were born to actually go through it, to then help others to stand in their power, in my case, to find their love, in Anne's case, to find the lens, to love yourself once again. And
I have to disagree, because I believe there's a choice. There's a lot of women that don't choose to go
right.
on.
Oh, that don't, right.
And to see it that way. And
I choose
and
for me.
And I think that's our mission,
Right.
to get to those women, so we can open up and see you're not alone. You don't have to be stuck where you are. You have a choice, and we can help you with what we have
don't go
learned,
through,
or whatever,
You don't
to
have-
get you to the other side.
Right. You do not need to do our journey. Yes, to wake up, love yourself, see the beauty in you, stand in your power, say no, don't be charmed, don't give away your power. If you're feeling low, if you're feeling like broken, never run in the arms of a man to pick you up, to make you whole. Find another way.
Well, yeah, like we talked about earlier today, like I think a lot of women, including as I'm speaking for myself, was to find somebody to make me happy. And then you're looking for happiness at the wrong places, rather than creating happiness for yourself first. Like when you're happy and in love with yourself, then it's so much easier to make the right choices, because you can see with a clear lens rather than a dirty lens what's out there, what you're looking at. And I think that's what they need to start teaching young girls in school.
It takes work. It takes.
Well, it starts from an early age. I mean, in high school, teach these young women. I mean, I certainly think that they should bring in the high schools and because some women don't have mothers that talk to them. They're on their own. They don't get people to tell them what's right and what's wrong, and what red flags to look out for. I mean, I thought about before to put together a road bus of women, say 10 women age 40 to 90, get on the stage in the high schools and say, hey, look, don't do this, don't do that. This happened to me, blah, 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 blah. I mean, and share all that, because we have been through all of it. And these women are just starting their lives, and how much can we help them as mature women that has already lived way above and made all the mistakes? But we need to get out and share that, and because not all their moms and grandmothers, whatever, or the schools for that matter, are teaching these young women that, you know, it's not okay. It's okay to say no. You don't have to do A, B, C, and D. And I mean, these days with the kids' sexuality, the pictures they send each other, and, you know, all this kind of stuff, that it's not okay. You know, your body is your temple, and you need to honor and love it, and don't let anybody come in and take advantage of it.
That is so crucial, to go out there, just like you're saying, and teach that next generation, empower them with this information of what we've gone through, and how do they own their own power, so that they understand that we're giving away our power every time we make exceptions to who we are. That's how it slowly starts to deteriorate. And then all of a sudden you look, how did I get here? And there is an actual way of looking, going, oh, this is how I got here. This is how I made an exception. So if what they're taught, and we teach that, and we speak it, and we show it, that you own those choices for you to be strong in who you are, and you don't have to give away parts of your life that you don't need to. So for me, I am looking to flip it a little bit, so that we don't even use the word victim anymore, that we use the words of how do we make them victors in their own lives, so that they recognize it, so that they're there to protect each other, so that even the men understand that this isn't okay. It is not okay to treat another human being this way. So for me, it's much bigger than the simple of how do we stop domestic violence? How do we actually alter the way that we see each other and we treat each other as human beings? And this is one piece of it. And you guys are doing an amazing job in putting the content out there, doing the work. And it's hard work. You said it earlier, it's hard.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with one of my co-partners, who's a male, and it just really hit home. He's like, you know what? It's as if there's a dream that happens, that we have a dream about what a relationship looks like. And for us as women, we're already, you know, making the plans. We're already, you know, dressing up what we're going to wear, and the hair, you know, and we're writing the name. Oh, how does it look if I'm married and I'm going to write their name, right? So we have this dream. We have a dream that we create. Oh, yeah. And then that dream gets broken. That dream has an alteration, but here we're still with our dream. And yet here he's beat us up, or he's telling us we're fat, or why did you do this? Or he's stalking us, or he's jealous and he did. So here the dream that we're living inside of is this unshakable wish to find like the perfect person. And what we really need to do is heal. We need to know that when there's something broken about this relationship, to take on grieving. It's almost like being able to do a ceremony to let it go, to know that I created this vision of this beautiful relationship, and this is not the charming prince that's come in. This is the frog that I put a prince's coat on, right? And that we have to be willing also to let go and grieve and let that relationship go, and just realize that we, in our vision of what we want to create, it's not always what it seems on the other side. We have to let go of those dreams and realize, start again. And the big, as Ann had said earlier, it's to love ourselves and to put us really on the front end of whatever we're creating, not put a dream of in a relationship that vision of a perfect relationship. It doesn't exist that way. What exists is we put the dream on who we are, who we're planning to be, and never give our power away to a fantasy dream of Cinderella, of finding the prince that's going to save us. we are the ones here to save ourselves. No one's coming. We are it. And the world that we live in with women's equality, we wanted this. Generations have fought for our equality, and it's close to being taken in many cases. So let the dream go. Mourn the loss. Let that go. Do a burn ceremony. This is Paul Sterling, who did Argue Less, Love More. And he said, well, at the end of it, just do a burn ceremony, take that relationship that you thought was the perfect prince and do a burn ceremony and put all the things that you learned from that relationship and let it go. So let the fantasy.
For me, I take those same things, but I delved into where were the weaknesses within me that I still needed to strengthen, where I needed to grow, because maybe I wasn't strong enough in some ways. I wasn't able to say no in certain ways. So I flipped it around to go, what is it that I learned from this that I can turn around and really share it with someone else? So not to completely put the blame on anyone else, because I was a participant. And part of my participation is not speaking up, not doing the things that I needed to do. So in that, I empower myself instead of playing a victim. I'm not a victim. I needed some lessons. Unfortunately, they came in this format, but I needed lessons of how to become stronger, how to really say what I needed to say. Now, we can all look at different things and go, what else played into this? And I could bring up stories from childhood and so on and so on. But really, as I look at it, I'm not a victim anywhere in my life. It is where I needed to grow and still become stronger. And really, that's what you guys are doing with your project. You're helping individuals, especially women, to grow within who they are.
Right. I mean, it really is, life is like this incredible place that we can evolve. I mean, we're as I see it, we're all here for a short time, and we're given like all these things in life to be, and we all have our own journey and our own experience, and to be able to then take these lessons, these hard lessons, and to learn and grow. Like mine was clearly to go through this length of time, and now I'm in that like the thrive of my life to help others to get through faster, to let them know these were life lessons. Learn the lesson from that last relationship and learn it and take it and cultivate it and put it in your pack. You got it as a gift, a tool, and now live your life, because it is not it's not a long time that we're here.
Not at all.
I believe what Rima said too, that I chose certain relationships that was not good for me, but I still chose to get into those. Nobody forced me, right? So then I beat myself up, like when I stopped blaming, because blaming it always comes first, right? And then you have to take responsibility and said, you know what? Nobody forced me to get into this relationship. I was there. I was not drugged. I was, aware. So why wasn't my self-awareness activated that this was not the right choice? So then I have to take a deep dive into my own self, and you'll say, okay, why are you choosing this type of man? What is it in you that attracted them to you? And what are you doing? What is it that you are doing to put yourself in there? And it's not until you can identify that in yourself, because you're gonna, and I'm speaking for myself as much as I'm speaking to everybody else. You keep attracting the same person over and over again in different pants. It's just the same guy, just different versions. So for me, I had to go through okay, what in my down to childhood has triggered me? And I have a great relationship with my father. So I knew it wasn't him, it wasn't that. And then it just dawned on me one day, you know what? It's my mom. I am looking for my mom, and I'm attracting my mother over and over again in because she was emotionally unavailable. She was a narcissist. And once that light bulb went up, I was like, oh my God, because I always thought it was like a man in your life because you know, but it doesn't have to be that way. It could be something else or something that happened in your life. So I think you really have to go through it and really heal and do a dissect into like what the why. Until you do that, then you can keep on repeating because you're not aware, right? You're not really aware of why, and
Unless you look.
yeah, unless you
you do a
find
deep
out like
dive,
really
right.
exactly why am I keep on making the bad choices over and over again. There's a reason. There's a void inside of you that you're looking for, and you keep on, even though that void might not be the best thing, it's a familiar,
Mm-hmm.
and that familiarity might not be the best. It's like in my case, I was craving my mother's love and approval and relationship all of my life. And it just, I was jealous that my friends had such a great relationship with their mother and I didn't. So I think that's for me has been what I've been looking for in men. And then I've gotten that attention because narcissists that I've had attracted into my life has always will have the big charm and charming until the curtain is closed and nobody's watching. And then the real person comes out. And that's usually not so great. And that was my mother.
That's so crucial to identify that. For
Yeah.
me, as I look at things, I don't look back with shame or guilt at all, because that's so disempowering. And I realize I'm not the same person that's looking back. What the person that was there, that's what I knew till you become aware, like you said, Anne. So you start to grow. So as I look back, I can't judge me back then the same way I am now. I've gone so much further. I can only look at myself with love and kindness to go, that's what I knew back then. And now I've grown and I understand this and can say it to someone else and can teach it to someone else. And really, I think that's the biggest part about going through any of these really rough, challenging things in our lives is to be kind to ourselves. You didn't know better. How would you have known back then? It's not taught in school.
You don't know, your awareness
No,
level
right.
is only as far, I mean, that's just as far as you can go, right? If you're not aware, then then you don't know.
Yeah, that craving for being seen and heard and craving love is just, that's really at the heart of it, right? When you talk about your mother, I can get a sense of that. And then I had a bully sister who just was hot and cold. She was really became I married my sister is what I was told. But I can also see the craving. I'm from a big family, and so knowing that I don't matter, feeling as a child I don't matter. So that just sets up for a life of looking to matter and looking for people. And a lot of relationships do start off that you are the most important person to that person. You matter.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, that is so intoxicating with someone who really gets
You know what it turns into? It turns into an addiction.
Oh,
Once you're in it, you're addicted to the good. That's why you're overseeing the bad.
Because why would we would never have chosen these men? Like my first experience didn't happen, the bad experience didn't happen until I was pregnant 3 years later. You know, it's like who would have ever, you just don't. But, you know, now I'm looking back, it's like what you said, what causes us to be inside of, what causes this? What are we missing? What did we miss? And if we can self-identify that I really miss being loved, and it does come, I need to find that love for myself first. I mean, it's kind of intellectual to even say that, but if those of us that really get the clarity that that's what I got inside of a domestic violent relationship in the beginning. It was a profound love. And now that this is the flip side of knowing that dark side of profound love is violence. And it's hopefully people hearing this can get, if they're in a relationship and it is turned into someone so obsessed with you, they can't live without you. They might be threatening suicide if they want, if you leave them, like they're so dependent also on you plugging them up. They need you to fulfill something. And so then your obligation becomes their emotional hinge to life. And then if you've been loved so deeply, there's almost like this need to like serve. Well, he took care of me. I can't let him go. He needs me, and it's, when I look back and I think of relationship, the first one I had was so jealous, obsessive, not in the beginning, of course, later. And my attempt to leave, and I attempted to leave like 5 or 6 times. And what kept pulling me in, and even he used the gun. I bought a gun to kill myself. And I think now, and I think that was an emotional, he needed me to plug in something in him. And then when you go back, then it's like really amazing when you go back. It's like, you're back, that whole profound addicted love, sick addicted love.
Yeah.
And then years go by and years go by and it doesn't change. So people hearing this need to get that love comes from within and with your source, and from like find the healing and understand what happened in your past and clear it. Don't find someone to go plug your love. You've got to have it come within. That's the only way you're going to heal. And that's what is going to end generational domestic violence, because families after families, it's just common. Oh, that just happens in our family and nobody talks about it. But in the meantime, people are sick. They're not well. And we need to stop this from generation to generation by self-love.
And true love comes without judgment and comes without shame.
Right.
For yourself and others. That's when we arrive at true love.
How a dog loves you unconditionally. Right.
It's true. And you see that as a joke. But my dad was speaking of that a couple of
Like
days
I said,
ago.
I don't need no boyfriend. I got my dog.
They do love unconditionally. We could learn so much from them instead of pointing fingers. How do we become better as human beings? So thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing this. And what's the next fun adventure for you as you're growing your business? I know you're doing some coaching and stuff. What's the next step? What's the next adventure?
A couple of things coming up. Number one, I am going to Italy next month, and I am going to help Sue Bryce, who is probably one of the top women portrait photographers in the world. She's teaching a workshop at a castle outside of Venice. And I'm one of the handpicked mentors in her education system. So I will be there teaching, I think there's 60 students with 12 other mentors. That's going to be, the place is just magical. It's this castle, like up at the top of the hills outside of Venice. I'm turning 60 and I'm going to be celebrating it in the castle. So and then I'm working on a certification system for my ageless project. So other photographers can spread this empowerment to other women. I told Beth earlier, to me, it's a win-win-win. And as I'm very much into business coaching, and a lot of my business coaches said, they won't work with people unless there's a win-win-win situation. And by win-win-win means the person you're working with, or the person who's doing it is going to win, because they're going to be able to number one, empower the women, and then also make money, right? I mean, I'll be empowering people all day long, but I also have to live and pay and eat. But and then pay it forward. Like, there will be, if a 15-year-old pick up that magazine and start reading these love letters from these women between 40 and 90, and you start spreading that across the country and then internationally or whatever, I mean, it just takes one to start. So that's what I'm working on, to start a certification for photographers to be able to spread that love so we can empower as many women as possible.
Bravo. Thank
Yay.
you for doing that. Yes. And for you, Beth, what's the next step in this fun adventure of yours?
Oh my gosh. Well, I am super excited to finally be launching the DV app. So I'm working on putting interviews together to be in the app. I'm working on a course to lead people from fear to freedom, to really go through my formula to really recognize early stages of domestic violence, and really to really help women to be through the stages where they have also a membership, because the app includes actually a membership. So there is a pocket of support.
Thank you both for continuing to be a light for yourself and for others, and doing the work that you're doing. It's more than taking photos. It's more than helping someone through court. You're actually changing a life and changing a next generation of individuals. So I really am so grateful for each of you, and for being my friend, not just in business, but also in personal life. And for me, for the audience, thank you guys for listening. Tune in next time for another great conversation, and you can follow both Anne and Beth. I'll put the information in our link so you can catch up with them and see what they're up to next. And we appreciate you guys. Any final thoughts, either one of you?
Stand in your power.
We love you, Rima. Keep on doing your great work yourself, girl.
Yes.
Thank you,
Rima,
thank you,
we love
thank you.
Rima. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the
Share
time
the
today. I know this is a
podcast.
tough
Share
one.
share her podcast.
Thank you, ladies. You guys have a fantastic evening. Talk to you
Thank
later. Bye.
Bye.